Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
Out with the old kitchen cabinets and in with the new in this week's renovation project.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford, the voice of home improvement, with projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
We are well underway with this kitchen renovation. A drywall finisher already out on the job, putting the finishing touches on our walls and our ceilings. Now, this is a nice wide open space, but it wasn't that way when we started this project. The kitchen was very small feeling because it had cabinets hanging from the ceiling. You had base cabinets that really closed in the area. Now, it's starting to kind of feel like the homeowners wanted it to. Nice, wide open space for family gatherings, because you know how it is. Everybody ends up in the kitchen area. Now, this will be a cool looking place too, because it'll have maple cabinets everywhere, have a window seat over under the windows, and a large custom table in the middle of the kitchen that not only will serve as an island space, but also a nice little breakfast table. And the cool thing about that, it's being built by one of the family members. Hey, it's going to be a neat project. Stay around. This project is like a lot of renovations that we're involved in. We're not really adding any additional living space, we're just reallocating what's available. A good example of that is where we have a fairly large laundry room here, and we borrowed just a little bit of space to make the kitchen breakfast room larger. Now, since the slab is about 3 inches lower than the floor level we have in the kitchen, we had to add a little bit of concrete on top of the existing slab to bring it up. Then we built the new wall at a little bit of a slope here, or slant, to give us more room here in the kitchen. Now, also like many of our projects like this, the first thing we had to do is a lot of demolition. The kitchen and the breakfast area we started with here were original to the house, so it was understandable that the owners wanted to update them. There was no shortage of cabinets in the old plan, but the layout really chopped up the room, and the look was, to say the least, dated. The biggest offender was the peninsula and the overhead cabinets above it. They cut the space in half, making the cooking and dining areas both seem very tiny. So we began there, dismantling the countertops and the cabinets until the room was completely stripped. Then we proceeded to peel the drywall from all of the walls and ceilings so changes could be made to the electrical layout very easily. Once there was nothing left but the bare studs and joists, we were ready to begin creating the new kitchen by framing the new angled wall to separate the kitchen and the laundry room. With this done, the perimeter was established for the new kitchen plan. The plan calls for the sink to keep its location under the existing window while the stove is on the opposite wall. The refrigerator will fit in on the adjoining side wall, creating a great work triangle with lots of open space in the middle. After all of the carpentry work was complete, we were able to have our drywall hangers out to hang all of the walls and the ceiling, and it'll take Mark a couple days to complete all of the finishing because it requires a little bit of drying time. Now, you may notice over here things look a little bit different on the wall because here we have a green moisture resistant drywall. Now, if you'll remember when we looked at the plans, the sink was here, dishwasher nearby. Also, we have refrigerator with an ice maker over on this side. So this is the area where most of the real prep work will go into all of the meals, and the place that's more prone to water dripping on the walls itself. This will protect the walls for a long time, and always a good idea in any wet area that you may have in your home, consider using some of the moisture resistant drywall. Now, over on this side we have cabinets that run here and here, as you saw in the plans, and you can see the homeowners really thought through the electrical needs they may have. We have an outlet here, 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 and here, and of course the switches that control a number of the new lights that they've installed. This is so important when you're considering kitchen renovation, to really think ahead on all of your electrical needs so that you can get everything wired by the electrician before any of the drywall goes up. Hey, we're making progress, and very soon we'll be having some cabinets in this room. When Mark finishes with the drywall, the painter takes over to prime and paint the trim before the new cabinets arrive. The lady of the house has opted for a light paint finish on the cabinets instead of a stain finish to keep the kitchen airy and bright. Who can blame her after 40+ years with the old cabinets? The new cabinets will have a lot of glass doors and lights mounted inside and beneath them to ensure that everything is light and bright. This slows down installation a bit because every box or wire has to have a corresponding hole in the back of the cabinet that covers it. And setting the cabinets is kind of like putting a puzzle together. You have to get each wire in the right place as the cabinet goes on the wall. To keep the look clean, every appliance has its own custom cabinet, including the refrigerator. This also allows for lots of deep storage space above the fridge. After simple solutions, we'll see how it all comes together.
It's time for this week's Simple Solution from home repair expert Joe Truini. Brought to you by Krylon. Innovation inspired.
Some of the simplest things around the home can be the most aggravating, and this is one that gets me every morning when I'm having to pull the coffee pot out in order to pour the water in. I mean, it really is fairly hard to pull it out, and then once you fill it up with water, it's even harder to put it back in. Solve this problem for me, Joe.
Well, if that's the only problem you have, Dan, you're in really good shape, but I've got a really easy solution, and I'll show you what part of the problem is that these appliances have little rubber feet on them, and even on a slick countertop like this granite, it just doesn't slide very well. So the solution is to go to the hardware store and pick up some of these felt pads that are typically used on the bottom of furniture legs, and they have a peel and stick pad on the bottom. So you just stick them right on top of the rubber feet.
Now, why wouldn't you put it right beside it here, Joe?
Well, you could, but in this case, the rubber is thicker than the felt pad, and the felt pad wouldn't touch the countertop if we put it next to it. So let's just stick one, and this adhesive is pretty strong. You'll be surprised, that'll last a couple of years. And we'll even put the craft back, and look at that, glides right out.
All right, that works pretty good, boy. How about a cup of coffee? Back out on our kitchen renovation, our brick floor has been completely finished, and we've had about a day or two drying time so that our granite countertops could be installed. Now, this type of floor is really a lot different than ceramic in the sense that you have to wait around 30 days for it to dry completely before you can apply any of the sealer over it. We'll be putting a clear sealer that has UV protectors in it so that any of the sun coming in from any of these windows won't cause it to yellow over the years. Now, they'll be putting on 2 different coats to have a little bit of buildup on it, and that should be the last time they have to do that for about 15 or 20 years. So real interesting floor, and one that certainly blends in with the rest of the kitchen. Now, this kitchen is really laid out so well for the use of granite because we only had to put in just one seam on the entire kitchen. This is one solid piece. We have a solid piece here, even though we have a corner configuration. But over on this side, we had to put a seam just right here and right here. These are the shortest points for the seam and a lot easier to hide them instead of putting it way out in the middle of 2 slabs coming together. Hey, the homeowners are real happy with the way things have turned out, and you know, they've been so involved in the design of this kitchen for quite a while, they can really start seeing the finished project that's just right around the corner. And earlier this morning, we spoke with the homeowners, Mr. and Mrs. Monty Collins. Well, we're 4 weeks into the project. We already have all the cabinets in, countertops, flooring, maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for us?
Very definitely, and we're so pleased with the way things are going. We're on schedule, and things are turning out the way I have envisioned them and have tried to help Monty to envision. And we're pleased.
Well, I tell you, your ideas that you had throughout the whole process really have worked out well. I love the window seat. What kind of ideas do you have in utilizing this? I know it's going to be valuable storage, but how do you see this working in?
Well, we'll have a large table that fits right in this area. That is a reproduction done by our nephew. And I wanted this for extra seating. Everybody ends up in the kitchen.
Of course.
And usually in the old kitchen, they were under my elbows, and Monty and I were bumping into each other. We both love to cook. But this way, we'll have a place for people to sit. That area over on the other side will serve as sort of a buffet, a serving area.
I see.
And we're going to have a heat lamp.
Oh, great.
Sort of to keep food warm. I didn't want to give up the drawer space for a warming oven.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That can take up a lot of room and end up being fairly expensive. Now, I know you guys really looked at the design of this overall and have worked on that for quite a long time. How did the design process really go for you?
It went great.
Good.
We had made a lot of preparation and thinking about it and knowing what we wanted, and since we both enjoy cooking, we knew what we wanted to be able to do in here. So the contractor put us with a nice young man who really refined everything we had decided on and didn't really know whether it was possible or not, and he said it was, and he put it on paper, and we just are really pleased with the design.
Well, that preparation and all the planning that goes into that is so important, and I know preparation also goes to kind of psyching yourself up before a project like this. I know you've had to do that. Now, you're not getting breakfast in bed, but close to it, huh?
Getting breakfast right by the bed. We've got a toaster oven and a microwave, and They put the refrigerator back in the bedroom.
So a little bit of a temporary kitchen right next to the bed there.
We've got 2 knives, 2 forks, 2 spoons, and lots of paper plates.
There you go. That's a way to get through a project like this. And like I say, it won't be long before it'll be completely finished, and I can certainly envision how it'll look. But I also see that you have some other things that you're deciding on over here. It looks like some faux finishing for the wall to finish it out.
We do, and our niece is doing this for us. She's an artist, and we're so pleased with the design she came up with right away. It will, I think it'll be good. We don't have that much wall space, but I wanted it to be significant because we have a wonderful collection of folk art that we like hanging in the kitchen, and we'll put that back up.
Well, that'll
and
really
I think this will be a good background.
That'll really blend together real well, and everything will tie together. And look forward to seeing everything complete. And we'll show you the finished project in just a little bit, right after our Best New Product segment.
Let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's Best New Product, brought to you by the Home Depot.
Hopefully by now everybody understands how important it is to change your filter on your air conditioning and heating system on a regular basis. Now, if you use an inexpensive filter like this, you'll need to change it about every month. And the main purpose of an air filter is to trap all of the dust that may be in your air before it gets to your air conditioning heating system. That'll make your equipment last a lot longer and work a lot more efficiently. Now, if you spend just a little bit more and get a slightly better filter, you'll also screen out a lot of the allergens that plague a lot of homeowners. Now, this particular one will screen out allergens such as mold spores, pollen, and even larger dust particles. But what's different about this is it's actually a refillable filter. Let me show you what I mean. You buy the frame like we see here with the filter in place. Then after 3 months, instead of every 1 month, you open the filter frame up, and then you take the old filter out, throw it away. Then at the Home Center, you're able to buy a 3-pack of filters like this. They average around $6 or $7 per refill. And you take the refill out, open it up, and you're able to put it right in place, close it up, put it right back in your return air grill. Now this way, you're able to spend a lot less money for a lot better filtration. Well, we're practically through with this kitchen renovation, and the homeowners, the Collins, are very relieved that they'll be back in their kitchen in just a day or so. Now, one of the things that kind of held us up a little bit is our split brick floor. Now, after all of the bricks were installed, we had to allow it to dry for about 30 days to make sure all of the moisture was out of the bricks. After that, the guys came back, cleaned it again, and applied the 3 coats of sealer. Now, this really adds a lot of character to any room to have something like a split brick floor, and certainly provides a very durable surface, so we're in good shape there. Now, another thing that adds a lot of character to any room, faux finish or a specialty paint techniques. Now, Mrs. Collins was very lucky here in that her niece, Margaret, actually helped her with this finish.
There was a painter here talking about it, and he said he just used thinned down paint and a rag. When we went out to experiment with it, I found this really funky rag, stretchy rag, and rolled it on there. And Miss Collins really liked it, so we stuck with this theme of just rolling it around in different positions. I tried to make a tool to do this, and you really need the ends of your fingers to manipulate it and to get some good curves in it. Now, some people, I guess, will want somebody else to do it, and I would just suggest that they get the painter to give them samples, different samples of their of different looks and stuff, because there's just a million ways to do this.
Margaret and Mrs. Collins made an excellent choice on the colors and really did a very good job on the faux finish. So many times when people do faux finishes on walls, they tend to get a little thick along the corners and around the moldings, but here, very even pattern throughout the whole kitchen. And the secret there is just to step back from time to time and really look at it to make sure you're keeping it even when you're applying all of the faux finish paint. Now, everything's dried, and Mrs. Collins is already trying a little bit of her folk art collection here to see how well it'll blend into the walls. Looks pretty good to me. Now, one of the decisions that was the hardest for the Collins is to decide what kind of material to use for the backsplash in the kitchen. As you can see, they selected the same material, granite, that was used on the countertops. Of course, there's a lot of selections that you can use on this type of area in your kitchen. You can go with a ceramic tile. You may even go with a regular 4 or 6 inch tall backsplash. But it's really a personal choice here. I think they did pretty well. Now, one element that's missing in this kitchen to complete everything is the custom table that's being constructed. And the gentleman that's doing that is part of the family too. He's the nephew, Glenn, that's taking care of that, and happens to be Margaret's husband.
This was a special project for them because they wanted to order this for their 50th wedding anniversary. So we started talking about it about a year before the anniversary came up, but at any rate, it started getting down to the wire, and he didn't want it to be too much of a surprise because he wanted it to be what she wanted. So this is a drop leaf table. They have a pretty large family, and what we can do is drop the leaf. There's a wooden hinge up under here that has a brass pin through it, and as you swing that leg in, it's called a gate leg, and the whole leaf will drop down. And they use that for when they get, the whole gang around for Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever. Just the two of them live alone now, so it doesn't take up as much room when they're eating alone. Sometimes some of the pieces actually become like one of your kids. I know it sounds kind of silly, but you almost hate to let it go once it goes out of there, because it takes part of your life. It's a chunk of your life gone building it. So it's still pretty satisfying work. I've been doing it for about 35 years, I guess, and I still get up every day like going to work. I like doing it.
The new custom table will be delivered tomorrow, and that'll enable the Collins to complete all the finishing touches on this kitchen. And we'll show you around right after our Around the Yard.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley. Brought to you by TimberTech Composite Decking.
But I thought any time that you bought a tree, you would have some type of ball on the end of that tree.
Well, Danny, this is the time of year when nurseries have bare root trees, fruit trees, roses, and it's a perfect time, late winter, early spring, to go out and buy them. You go to the nursery and they have them in wood chips. Now, the important thing when you pull it out then is to get all of those wood chips off, because it'll rob it of some nutrients.
Well, now, do we need to do some more digging here in order to plant it?
No. This is the crown. If you'll just set it right here, because we need the crown there so that it has some place to sit. And then we're going to continue to put the soil, mixing the soil with the compost. Now, another benefit of a bare root tree is that it hasn't sat in any other kind of soil, like a container tree. And so its acclimation time is shortened because we're immediately putting it into this soil that's so nice. Now, you'll notice I have this stick here.
Yeah, what's the stick for?
Well, the stick is to make sure that your ground level doesn't exceed that height. We want to make sure that this tree is at least that high, because as we continue to put the soil and irrigate it, it's going to continue to compact a little bit.
But now, this thing, even with all the dirt to fill up this hole, is not going to stand on its own, will it?
Oh, no, it's not. Well, we could have you stand here forever, but actually I have a stake, and we'll be staking it as soon as we have all the soil in here.
This kitchen renovation is complete, and now that the homeowners have moved in and made it their own, it looks fantastic. Before we started, the kitchen was a dark, hemmed-in space, but the new open floor plan has lighter cabinets with great details like banks of drawers, glass doors, and a custom window seat. The granite countertops, backsplashes, and the undermount sink give the room a sleek, elegant look, while Glenn's custom table and the Collins' folk art collection keep it warm, comfortable, and inviting. A kitchen renovation like this can take 8 to 10 weeks, so you have to do some serious planning before you start a project like this. Well, the homeowners anticipated being out of their kitchen for that long and gave them an opportunity to try out all their favorite restaurants, but they're very glad to be back in their new kitchen now. Well, I'm Danny Lipford. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified of new videos.
And be sure to click around and watch some more videos while you're here.